On what now? So maybe you weren't even here, and that's okay. But consistency is important to me, and so I'm going to come and share anyway. Thank you to all of the replay viewers that are going to come in afterwards. Really, really excited to share again. From Touch One Life, Touch Millions, preparing for your season of elevation with Dr. Eve. I hope you all are doing well today. Thank you again for being here. Let's see. Hope you all are doing well today. Oops, there she is. Okay, hope you all are doing well today. Thank you again for turn this down. Just want to be able to see if there's anyone in here in the room. If I have any questions, I'll be able to answer your questions. But I'm going to dive right in. So yesterday, we were having a conversation about the seasons in our lives and, you know, how God knew us before we were formed in our mother's womb, and how he also says in Jeremiah 29:11 that he knows the thoughts that he has towards us, and is to prosper us and bring us to an expected end. And same still holds. You know, when we are thinking about our lives and things that we tend to disassociate with, that those two verses still stand. They still stand. And I want to share with you, yesterday I shared with you about the seasons, the introduction, my purpose for writing this series, and how God really wanted to show me something about myself. He wanted to show me my power, show me where my superpower was, where the miracle was, and the miracle, sign, and wonders of just being alive was in the story. You know, sometimes we look back at our lives and we see just the trauma, and we forget about all the happy parts. And, you know, even though the average family is dysfunctional, let me just go ahead and say that the average family, primarily because we haven't denounced a lot of the things that just was allowed to happen in our lineage as humans, period. But today, I want to talk a little bit. First of all, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Eve, and I am an educator in the area of health and human services. And I specialize in community engagement, group processes, and online social support as an academic scholar. And the work that I do centers the development of online social support in the workforce, in colleges, in schools, in private and public sector, nonprofits, a place where employees can lower their a place where support can be provided, where employees' inhibitions can lower the employees' inhibitions to share with you what's happening with them. Sometimes we experience trauma on our jobs. I did. We experience things that are often viewed as lack of performance, lack of this or lack of the other, when in essence there's all these human variables or well-being variables that are at play. And I just want to tap into that just a little bit, because when I was writing this book, I remember, you know, first of all, at the onset of my existence was trauma. And that was being born into the world as an infant, as a 24-week gestational infant, the size of my mother's hand, and, you know, just not given the best prognosis to live, but God would have another say. So while I don't want to travel down that lane too much as to how it affected me in this moment, I do want to travel down the road of what that must have been like for my mother, having to hold on to hope, having to, um, from day to day, not know whether I was going to make it, but she still held on to what she believed, even if she couldn't see it. So I want to talk about that a little bit because oftentimes, even in the workforce, I've experienced where it's particularly medicine, particularly in the health environment, academic environment, all environments. I've worked in all three. Can I say big institutions, whether that was corporate, academic, and or healthcare, and in all three instances, there was always these instances where my fellow colleagues were trying to figure it out, just trying to figure out life, trying to figure out how to around policies and procedures, how to figure out around workforces that said they were friendly, but they were not flexible, just trying to figure out life with all these variables. And so I think about my mom when she had me and what that must have been like for her, not having the support system. So while I don't want to stay before you long, I wanted to share why this is why this is all linked together and why it's important that we think about what well-being looks like in the workforce. So um, I'm also the executive director for the National Coalition of Black Women Rising. And one of the things that we're doing right now is we're on a tour. We're on a tour for redefining well-being as the highest form of equity. Why would well-being be the highest form of equity? It is so because inequities exist across all aspects of our lives, whether that be economic stability, access to quality health care, access to quality education, neighborhood and built environments, and social support and that social support in the context of social support and capital. And so the tour, in our efforts on the tour, our goal is to create cultures of well-being. So everything that we do aligns with making sure that people are okay, that people have a safe place, that we can create an alternative to dominant institutional cultures. What we're seeing, and I'm going to reiterate this, is going back to my mother and mothers like her and mothers like myself who went through the workforce, who didn't have that flexibility. We were held to the standard, but yet our institutions were family friendly, but not so family friendly. And I remember all too well, and I haven't shared the stories about my experiences in the workforce on this side of getting married and having children. But I have shared my experience in the workforce prior to and what that meant and how tapping into my skill sets moved me along the trajectory of preparing me for my season of elevation and identifying my superpower. So I want us to begin to really think about what our policies look like. What does our social support look like inside of our institutions? Are you honing as an employer, as a CEO, as a manager, as a senior staff? Are you risk management? Are you honing in on what cultures of well-being could look like for your institution? Are you listening to your staff? Are you leading from the top down or the bottom up? And I ask you this because at the end of the day, your employees are responsible for your bottom line. And when your employees aren't well, then your bottom line is sacrificed. Happy employee, happy employer, happy outcomes. And so I want you to begin to be thinking about that, what that looks like, and what does the culture look like in your organization? Because I've had to leave some organizations where the senior management had no idea what the middle management was doing and what the middle management's impact was on the blue collar staff, and that can't be. When we think about the mass exodus right now, people, and people are trying to figure out why these why these people are leaving these jobs. Let's think about what happened during the pandemic when the schools closed, the restaurants, the businesses closed. Families had to go home and pivot. People had to pivot to online spaces, and much of this hasn't gone away. It still exists, which means that coming back to work was really hard. So what can you do? Well, I'm glad you asked. You could begin to think about some techniques. You could begin to think about a circle of support that could enhance your employees' well-being. That's one way. You could think about, hold on, I'm sorry. You could think about how some resources for your workers. Like, there's 6 essential elements that have been identified, and they are advanced organizational commitment. How committed are you to your employees' well-being? The second one is strengthen your leadership behaviors, because they have got to be on one accord, because you have your leadership that's misaligned. Not many, but some of your leadership are not aligned appropriately within their strength zone. Some of them don't need to be managing people. One of the things that I do as a leader myself, when I am leading groups or building power or helping organizations to build capacity, is to make sure that each individual understands his or her strengths. That's so very important, right? Because they can be misaligned depending on their strength zone. And if they're not happy in their job, but they're just there because, then they could likely be making other people really miserable. And I'll use for an example, the salesman. You have a salesman who loves to sell socks, and he can sell the socks. He can sell 1 million socks going from door to door. But the moment you ask him, because he's making $1 million, now you're saying, okay, well, come teach the rest of my employees. Come and teach everybody else how to make $1 million. And you could say, can you come and manage this department? And now we're going to give you a triple bonus. You're not going to have to be in the streets no more. You're not going to knock on any doors anymore. You're just not going to have to do any of that. But the moment you bring him out of his comfort and his strength zone, his morale drops, because perhaps he does not like to manage people. He likes the daily interaction with new people every day. Or maybe he's built a relationship with his client base that he can sell socks to over and over and over again. After all, socks do get worn, right? So there's that. So sometimes your employees and your leadership are misaligned, not just some, probably 3/4 of them are misaligned. Then you have conduct workplace assessment. Conduct workplace assessment. And I'm going to be breaking some of these down for you as we move throughout this series, because I really want to see our colleges, our schools, our workplace, our private and public sectors and nonprofits really leading in a way that their cultures are healthy. And what can that conduct work placement assessment look like? This is what engagement looks like. It looks like coming into your company and asking very important questions, coming in and looking at the assessment, assessing your employees' strengths. The next one is number 4 is examine your policies and procedures. Are your policies and procedures a hindrance to your employees' well-being? That's critical. We know that there have been a lot of inequities created just in policies and procedures. Perhaps we need to take a look at those and what's the impact of your policies and procedures on your staff who may need a little more flexibility, right? Number 5, enhance your workplace efficiency. And how do you do that? Again, making sure your folk they're working in their strength zone. When your people are working in their strength zone, they are a lot more successful and a whole heck of a lot more happier, right? A whole heck of a lot happier, should I say. And then finally, number 6, and that is cultivating a culture of connection and support. What could that look like in your firm? Well, that could look like an online social support, an unbiased facilitator who works maybe a group that meets, on a certain schedule. We do this every day. We go into these firms and we offer online social support because it's what we do. It's what we love. We understand the processes, and we can train your staff to do that as well. So that when your employees have a concern, they can create an avatar. These discussions can be from a place of a forum. This is a way to collect data. It's a way for you to stay informed about how your employees are feeling, what their concerns are and why. And as your facilitators are keeping the conversations open, and not closed to a yes or a no, but, collaborative conversation. These things help us to be able to lower the inhibitions of your staff to want to have a conversation where they won't feel like they are retaliated against. Like I know in many of the larger firms, you have your risk management, or you have your 1-800 numbers where your employees are responsible for reporting certain things. But as soon as it gets reported, there's no confidentiality. There's no unbiased personnel there to be able to keep that person safe. Not really. Why do I know that? Because I've been her before. Much of my trauma has been experienced on someone's job. So I say that to you without you having understood my story or how I was prepared. There's so much to my story that has linked me to the work that I do today. But I want to use my story in a way to really make a difference in what I saw and what is needed, and how we can improve the livelihood of people. And so again, I won't keep you. I know you all are getting ready for the big game. And so again, my name is Dr. Eve. I am an educator in the industry of health and human services with a concentration in social and community services, where I heavily center community engagement, group processes, and online social support for workforce, colleges, universities, schools, private and public sectors, and nonprofits, and also those leaders who want to become online facilitators of online social support, those who want to be the support that they needed. And so again, it's exciting to be before you again. I'm wanting to be very consistent about my work with you all. Do you have any questions? I got a few minutes for some questions. I see there are a couple of you out there. If you have any questions about this work, please take some time now to share any questions that you might have in the chat, and I can answer any questions that you might have. If you are coming into this live in the aftermath and would like more information, please click the link in this video, Linktree / Dr. Eve Angel H. Savage for more information, or feel free to DM me. And I can, we can have a conversation. If you'd like a consult, please check us out, DM me so we can get you on the schedule and talk a little bit more about what this all could mean for your firm. Thank you so much. We are Hub certified firm as well, so we're excited to do business with you and create the cultures of well-being that your staff deserves. Peace and blessings. And y'all have a great game out there today. I'm not sure who you're rooting for, but I'm rooting for you. Peace and blessings, everyone.